In today's video, we will be going through the 2011's American action horror film Priest. Spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment on what your favorite part was, and subscribe to our channel for more. Priest is the movie you'll watch once and either love it or hate it. Do you fancy vampires? If not, you might hate the world of Priest because humanity has been at war with vampires for centuries, and these are not just your usual humans turned into vampires. Vampires in this movie are a totally different breed than humans, even more dangerous than our boring old sharp fangs and dark circles vamps. But people are equally powerful too. Not all of them, a group of people called the Priests hired by an absolute church that basically rules the humans. And to make it clear that they're priests, they have a cross tattooed on their forehead. The centuries-long war forced the church to create a walled city to protect people living inside from the vampires. Now the war is at its ending phase, and guess who's winning? Yep, plain old humans again. The start of the movie gives us a taste of what exactly the war is like. A group of priests and priestesses are in the Sola Mira hive. Let's focus on our protagonist Priest, who of course is leading the way. His BFF, Black Hat, and somewhat of a love interest, the priestess, follow behind. They're there to get the vampire queen. But the vamps have set a trap that sinks most of the priests under the ground. The others run away, including the leader Priest. However, Black Hat is held down by the creatures. The priest holds his best friend's hand and tries pulling him, but the vampires take him away. After Black Hat's sacrifice, the vampires were defeated. Humans stayed inside the city, guarded by the walls and protected by the church. With the vamps gone, the priests were useless to the church, so they were sent to live a normal life. Best of luck trying to fit in with that forehead tattoo. It's been a few years since the war ended. Owen Pace is the protagonist's priest brother but doesn't have an exciting life like his. He's an ordinary man living outside the city in the wasteland with his wife Shannon and daughter Lucy. Owen and his family are having dinner one evening when suddenly everything around them rumbles. Owen checks outside and sees a pack of vampires coming towards them. Best of luck, Owen. Shannon quickly makes Lucy hide in the basement and joins Owen to fight them, but they're like mere specks of dust for the blood-hungry creatures. Lucy listens to her parents die in horror. Someone, presumably the killer of her parents, notices her in the basement and brings her out. Back in the guarded city, everyone goes on with their lives unknown to the Pace family being ripped apart. The church is the tallest building in the city and everyone around seems busy until its bell rings. It makes everyone stop in their tracks in sight. To go against the church is to go against God. A little extreme in my opinion, but rules are rules. The priest is on his way to a homage cabin where the people of the city go to cleanse their sins. He is greeted by an automated video of the church's head, Monsignor Aurelas, playing on a monitor. His sin is that he's been having nightmares about not being able to save his BFF Black Hat in the war. It asks him to say the prayer and leave. It's a pre-recorded video. What did you expect? On his way home, a little boy asks the priest about his tattoo, not that it's that noticeable. Before the priest can enter his apartment, he attacks a random man behind him, but it turns out he had figured the man was following him using his priest knowledge. The stalker is Hicks, the city's sheriff. He informs the priest of his brother Owen being on his deathbed, his sister-in-law dying, and his niece Lucy being abducted by the vamps. Too much information at once, even for the priest. Hicks is in love with Lucy and wants to do what every irrational lover would: go on a rescue mission. He's here to ask the priest for help, but Priest is the church's slave, so he goes to ask them to renew his priest license. However, the Monsignor is a douchebag. He laughs at Priest for claiming the vampires did it. He doesn't want the priest to shake the faith of the citizens in the church by proposing such absurd scenarios. Then we see poor Lucy on a running train between the vampires. Why have they kept her alive? You'll soon know. Suddenly, Priest's dead best friend, Black Hat, arrives there. He has changed teams and is now on Team Vamps. He's abducted Lucy because he wants to reunite with the priest. We don't know what he wants from the priest, but something tells me our protagonist won't be happy to see him alive. The priest and Chamberlain, the guy next in power to the Monsignor, are together in a bar. Chamberlain knows the priest is up to something, but he reminds him that to go against the church is to go against God. Priest boldly claims that he will go against God. I got goosebumps while watching this scene, not gonna lie. The police have surrounded him, but Priest is a vampire specialist. The police are nothing in front of him. He defeats them in a second and leaves. He quickly leaves for the wasteland on his motorbike. He reaches the outpost where Sheriff Hicks takes him to Owen. Owen begs his brother to find and save his daughter with his final few breaths. The church's clergy has declared Priest a wanted criminal. The Monsignor assembles a group of other priests and priestesses and orders them to bring the priest back, dead or alive. The priest and Hicks drive to the closest vampire reservation but are surprised when they see the place isn't guarded. It's filled with familiars instead. Familiars are the crazy people who voluntarily turn into vampires. Every vampire movie has one of these. The two go inside the place and see that the guards have been killed. The priest tries to get information from one of the familiars when a group of familiars attacks the two. A frightened Hicks runs out, good going, the mighty town's sheriff. The priest with his priest skills defeats them all but leaves one alive to interrogate him about Lucy. To their misfortune, the sun sets just then and the vampires rise from their coffins. The priest pulls out his weapon, a Bible. Turns out a weapon was inside the Bible, but I would have loved to see him fight with just the book. While the priest fights them, Hicks fires at the others and misses every single shot, and he wanted to come to save Lucy alone. The priest works for both and kills them all. The scared familiar tells him that the vamps took Lucy west. The Solamira hive lies in the west. Back in the vampire-infested train, a salesman tells Black Hat about Hicks and the priest's little adventure. Black Hat drinks his blood after, turning him into a familiar. On their way to the hive, the priest and Hicks have lovely chit-chat. Hicks expresses how much he loves Lucy, and the priest tells him about his intention to kill her if she has turned into a familiar. When they get to the hive, the priest gets flashes of the time he lost his dearest friend in the war. He's about to be surprised soon. Hicks again stays outside the shaft as the priest goes in. The priest notices someone following him. Surprise, surprise, it's the priestess. She's here to kill the priest as per the church's order, but she doesn't follow the orders. They hear a gunshot and run to see Hicks fighting a massive creature. The three fight the creature and Hicks shoots it dead. They set off for the town of Jericho, where the other priests who basically want to kill the protagonist priest are heading. But they don't know that as they talk, a train full of vampires is approaching the town of Jericho. Best of luck to the town of Jericho. A montage of everyone in the town being killed by the vampires is seen. Black Hat dances on the street, which to me seems like a badass villain move. Three of the other priests arrive and attack Black Hat. He gives them the option to join him. The priest and others arrive in the town in the morning, long after everyone in the town has been killed. If killing them wasn't enough, Black Hat impaled the three priests on a cross. The trio realizes that the vampires came on a train and are headed to the wasteland to presumably kill them all too. They give the dead priests a quick funeral and make their way to the wasteland. On the train, Black Hat explains that he believes the vampire breed is pure and superior to humans. Same, Black Hat, same. He wants to wipe out humanity and its sins. He wants the priest to join hands with him. We finally know why he kidnapped Lucy. The other three reach the tracks when Hicks points his gun at the priest. We've already seen your aiming abilities, Hicks. Don't embarrass yourself, bud. He threatens to kill the priest if he tries to harm Lucy. He's afraid that if Lucy has turned into a familiar, the priest will kill her. The priestess then reveals the priest's darkest secret. He is Lucy's real father. Okay, it wasn't that dark, but yes, the priest is Lucy's father who sacrificed her for the sake of being the priest. Keeping their differences aside, the priest and Hicks rush towards the train, and the priestess sets up explosives in the tracks. Hicks enters the running train by breaking its back door while the priest gets on top of it. Black Hat waits for him on the roof. The priest doesn't show any emotions. Black Hat says he wants the priest to join him. Turns out the vampire queen had abducted him and turned him into a human vampire, someone who is stronger than the familiars. The priest tries fighting his ex-best friend, but he is way stronger now. I bet he regrets praying to God for Black Hat to come back. Meanwhile, the familiars attack the priestess. She manages to defeat them all because she is one of the lead characters of the movie. However, the explosive trap is now destroyed. On the top of the moving train, the priest and Black Hat fight, which ends when Black Hat throws the priest on the tracks. But did you really think he'll get rid of the priest that easily? Of course not. The priest latches onto the bottom of the running train, no big deal. Hicks sees a familiar taking Lucy away but cannot reach them in time. The priest gets back to the train again by breaking its floor from the outside. The vampires then attack the priest and Hicks. Hicks uses his brain for the first time in the movie and creates holes in the roof, allowing the sunlight to enter. But just then, Black Hat knocks Hicks out of the train. Lucy manages to set herself free from a familiar. Black Hat tells her about her real father, but weirdly no one reacts. He and the priest get into a fight again, but Black Hat is way stronger than the priest. He impales the priest to the wall and takes Lucy on top of the train. Priestess doesn't give up and mounts the explosives on her bike. The priest frees himself and goes behind them. Just when Black Hat is about to bite Lucy, the priest strikes him with a cross that stabs Black Hat on his neck. Lucy almost falls off the train but is saved by the priest again, duh. Black Hat is still not dead and tries to push them both off the train, but the priestess hits the train with the explosives. The priest takes Lucy with him and jumps right on time. The explosion kills all the vampires inside. Hicks, who is worried about Lucy, rushes towards her. I will lose it if he tries boasting about his bravery. Then Black Hat's black hat falls on the ground, indicating he might be dead, but also setting up the potential for a sequel. Then we see the priest walking to the Monsignor in the church filled with people. He throws a beheaded vampire head and tells him to check the train outside the city for more. In your face, Monsignor. While walking out of the church, the priest claims that the war is just beginning. Later, he meets the priestess who claims she and the other priests are on his side. The priest rides off into the sunset. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel to see more of these movie summaries.